for the defendant.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. At this time, I'm going to ask if there are any conflicts that have been identified. Anyone? Okay. Having heard of no conflicts, I'm going to ask each side to introduce your team members for the plaintiff.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Cademan Bergtorf, and I will be presenting the opening statement for the plaintiff today, as well as providing the direct examination of Dr. Casey Rogers and the cross-examination of Dr. Devin Williams.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Allison Merlino. Today, I will be the direct of Dakota Weirs, the cross-examination of Blake Doncourt, and I'll be presenting the closing statement.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Christina Haller, and I am doing the direct examination of Carson Durst and the cross-examination of Skylar Weirs.
Thank you. For the defense.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Emily Duran. I will be providing the opening statement for the defense, as well as directing Blake Doncourt and cross-examining Dr. Casey Rogers.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Malia Bauer. I will be doing the direct of Skylar Weirs and the cross of Carson Durst.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Mary Strasser. I will be doing the direct examination of Dr. Devin Williams, the cross-examination of Dakota Weirs, and also be providing the closing statement for the defense.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to swear in the team members, the gallery, the scoring panelists, and the witnesses. All right. In an effort to maintain a level of professionalism and uphold the code of ethical conduct, I am going to ask all parties and members to rise for swearing in. All right, team members, please raise your right hands. Team members, do you promise that the presentation you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition? Okay. Witnesses, do you promise that the testimony that you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competition? Gallery members, including teacher and attorney coaches, family members, and friends, please raise your right hands. Do you promise to represent yourselves as positive role models and to behave in a manner that exemplifies ethical and professional sportsmanship during and after this mock trial round? And scoring panelists, please raise your right hands. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition? I do. All right. Thank you, everyone. All right. As the parties have all announced ready, for the plaintiff, you may begin your opening statements.
May we have some pretrial matters, Your Honor?
Yes, you may. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. The plaintiff asks that both parties be allowed to sit or stand as is available to them in the space provided with the online format.
What's the position of the defense?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, so ordered. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, Your Honor, thank you. We would also ask that any exhibits be allowed to be presented when mentioned for the witness on the Zoom meeting, but be assumed that the jury cannot see them.
Thank you. And the opposing party, what is your position?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, so ordered.
We have one more preliminary matter, Your Honor. We would ask that time is not stopped during the presentation of exhibits as to save time in today's case.
Great, thank you. And the opposing party, what's your position?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, also so ordered.
There are no further preliminary matters for the defense, for the plaintiff, Your Honor.
And for the defense, any preliminary matters?
Yes, Your Honor. We ask that if a technological issue were to arise that you are not aware of, that we have a team member step in and inform you.
Absolutely, so ordered.
Thank you. No further preliminaries for the defense.
All right, thank you. Then with that, the plaintiff may begin with your opening statements.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, Your Honor, opposing and co-counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. There is one reason that we are here today. One thing important enough to bring us all into this court this morning. And that thing is non-Hodgkin lymphoma. NHL is a terrible disease that affects all facets of life, just as it has done for poor Dakota Weirs. It has taken away her livelihood, her scholarship and educational opportunities. It has taken away her ability to do the service that gives her life. And most importantly, it has taken away her zest for life and connection to those she is closest to that have already passed on, in her ability to play the piano, something she had done with her grandfather. That is the one reason we are here today. But the defense is here today as well, and they are here for 3 reasons. And those reasons are dismissiveness, deceit, and destruction. It is our burden today to prove beyond preponderance of an evidence that the defense's 3 reasons led for our 1 reason for being here today. In order to do that, we will bring directly in front of you the people directly affected, knowledgeable, and responsible for this case today and our 1 reason for being here. First, we will bring Dakota to the stand, and you will see firsthand the destruction that has been wrought in her life. You will hear the story of her hard work and astounding success, all brought down before she even entered college. You'll hear how she developed an environmentally caused cancer believed to be from a landscaping job she held since the age of 14, where she handled many bags of Lush fertilizer. You will then hear from former Lush employee Carson Durst, who, after having tensions rise within the company because she was raising concerns over possible carcinogenic nature of Lush's products, was dismissed. To speak further about Drufo, this dangerous chemical, you will hear from the expert and widely published Dr. Casey Rogers, an incredibly distinguished expert and researcher within the fields of chemistry and toxicology for pesticides. He will show you the absolute, truly astounding evidence of Drufo's connection to increased carcinogenic rates and increased cancers, including non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Then Lush will bring 3 witnesses to the stand, and notice how what has actually occurred is shown in what they do despite what they say. They will bring forth the owner and CEO of Lush Fertilizer, Blake Doncourt, who will try and save his company by shifting blame to anyone for anything. He will put anything as responsibility beside his own product, even when he could have just baked it to make sure it was safe. They will point their fingers at anyone beside themselves. Then they will also bring to you Skylar Weirs, a journalist that will preach the dangers of pseudoscience while having absolutely no scientific qualifications, training, or education. They're a desperate writer in need of money, something that will be provided by Lush Fertilizer, and whose findings happen to match up exactly with the company that is paying them. Then there is the board member, Dr. Devin Williams, an outgoing chair of Lush Fertilizers Ethics Committee, a person with such a high ranking on the board that never bothered to run their own studies. They say they are glad that the United States has its own system for measuring chemicals, because when tests are only enough to ban a substance in the entire European Union and many other countries throughout the world, it must be safe. Ladies and gentlemen, you will see the 3 reasons that the defense is here today. Their dismissiveness, deceit, and destruction has led to our one reason. And we believe at the end of this trial, when seeing the evidence, I will be asked to find a favorable plaintiff.
Stop.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any opening statement for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court, Your Honor, opposing and co-counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Emily Duran, and I am joined here with my co-counsel, Malia Bauer and Mary Strasser, proudly representing Lush Fertilizer in what we believe to be a misguided attempt to find a villain in this very sad story. Non-Hodgkin lymphoma is a terrible disease, a disease that no one should have to endure. But as you listen here today, we ask that you please put your emotions aside and focus on the facts and the evidence being put before you today. And when you focus on these facts, you will find that the damages Dakota Weirs is attempting to seek are both unfounded and unfair. Lush Fertilizer created a product that works to better the environment. It works to reduce the amount of eutrophication and nitrate pollutants in the atmosphere. Lush Fertilizer's product truly is a world changer. The ingredient in this product that allows it to be a world changer is in fact Drupo. Please remember that Dakota Weirs has the burden to prove all elements of this case by a preponderance of evidence. And as you sit there, we ask that you ask yourselves 3 questions. Is this proof or postulation? Is this science or speculation? And is this verified or vilification? Before our witnesses will get the chance to speak, you will hear from 2 biased plaintiff witnesses, as well as Dakota themselves. Dakota speaks to you about how they are searching for answers, searching to find why non-Hodgkin lymphoma has befallen them. But they are searching for these answers in the wrong places. You then hear from Carson Durst, who has an axe to grind with Lush Fertilizer and much to gain if their competing company earns more market share than Lush. Then Dr. Casey Rogers, who brings to you their very own study, a study that has not been peer-reviewed or replicated and is merely just postulation. You then get the chance to hear from 3 incredibly credible defense witnesses. First, Dr. Devin Williams, who explains that proof is needed in this case, proof that is not there. And without evidence, Dakota Weirs cannot carry their burden. You then hear from Skylar Weirs, an agritech expert who explains that there is no causal link between Drupo and cancer, specifically non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Finally, Blake Doncourt, the CEO of Lush Fertilizer, who explains how Drupo was designed and created and just how their product and their company works to not only better the environment, but also better the community. Blake also mentions that there was no evidence to ever require additional duties of his company. And Lush Fertilizer is a responsible corporate citizen and not the villain in this story. If you find that Lush is liable here today, we ask that you please consider the responsibility of Dakota Weirs and reduce their award accordingly. There were safety recommendations put in place, safety recommendations that Dakota Weirs decided not to follow. Lush Fertilizer cannot be at fault for their product if it is not used as recommended. We ask that you find that Dakota Weirs cannot carry their burden and deny their claim for damages. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, for the plaintiff, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff calls Dakota Weirs to the stand. Good morning, Ms. Dakota Weirs. Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
I am Dakota Weirs, Weirs.
Ms. Weirs, how old are you?
I'm 20.
What was your last place of employment?
I worked at Haven Landscaping.
And what products did you use while working at Haven?
We used Lush fertilizer among other lawn products.
Have you experienced any ailments medically since using these Lush products?
Yes, I have.
And what is your current diagnosis?
I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
When did you find out about the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
I got my diagnosis just before I was about to leave for school.
So you were enrolled in school?
I was.
How long did you work towards going to university?
I worked my entire life to go to university. Ever since I was little, I've been putting in the effort to reach my dreams.
And what university were you planning on attending?
I had a scholarship to Juilliard.
Have you been able to proceed with those plans to go to Juilliard?
No, I have not.
How so?
Well, because of my sickness, I'm unable to take care of myself on my own, and that would make it impossible to move and be a part of the campus life.
So do you need help doing daily tasks?
Yes, I do.
And who is your current caretaker?
My father.
And what does your father have to do every day to help you?
Just simple things. Help me get out of bed, make my breakfast, walk with me around the house or outdoors. Just everyday normal things that other people would consider easy tasks.
So does this condition affect you physically?
Yes.
And are you in constant pain, Ms. Weirs?
I'm in constant pain on top of constant fatigue as well.
And how has this affected you emotionally?
It's affected me in every way emotionally. I feel like I hardly recognize myself anymore. The vibrant, happy girl that once was there just isn't.
What hobbies are you unable to do? Hobbies and future career paths are you unable to follow now that you have this illness?
Well, I used to be a very active member of our community, and I would help out in soup kitchens and homeless shelters and things like that. And I also used to play the piano, but because of my sickness, it's become more than difficult.
Was playing the piano important to you?
It was my entire life.
And are you able to play the piano at all anymore?
No, even the shortest of concerts bring me a great deal of pain and bruises.
Ms. Weirs, who is your biggest influence?
It would have to be my grandpa.
And has he passed?
Yes, he has.
How did you connect with him after his passing?
I would play the piano. He was the one who taught me how. He would sit with me when I was little and teach me the keys and songs, and I would play when he passed, and I would feel closer to him.
So how has this illness affected the connection you have with your grandfather?
I feel like I've lost a part of him and that I can't reach out to him anymore, and that tie has been severed somehow.
Thank you, Ms. Weirs. Now I would like to talk about how this illness, why you brought this lawsuit today.
I brought this because I want everyone to know of the dangers that Lush fertilizer has been causing, and I don't want anyone else to have their dreams ripped away and destroyed like I did.
Thank you. So you say you worked at a landscaping business. How long were you there?
I started when I was 14 and I worked up until I got my diagnosis.
How were you using products every day at this landscaping business?
Well, I was too young to work any of the heavy machinery, so I would be laying out the fertilizer and the seed.
Were you told to wear safety gear while laying out this fertilizer?
Yes,
And who told you to wear this?
my boss.
And why exactly did your boss tell you to wear the safety gear?
He said that it could cause irritations in the eyes and face.
Your Honor, may I present to the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 1?
Any objection from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor, objection hearsay.
Your response?
Your Honor, we're not asking to admit the exhibit yet, so I do not know what the hearsay objection is exactly on. Is it?
You may show your exhibit to the witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dakota, let the record reflect that I am showing Exhibit 1 to opposing and co-counsel. Do you recognize this exhibit, Dakota?
Yes, I do.
What does this exhibit state?
It states Lush's ingredients and the keep caution causes eye irritation, avoid contact with eyes and clothing.
Have you been shown this exhibit before?
Yes,
And who is the person that showed you this exhibit?
my boss.
Is this a true and accurate copy of the Lush fertilizer label provided to you by your boss?
Yes,
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff calls for Exhibit 1 to be admitted into evidence.
Any objection from the defense?
Yes, objection hearsay.
And your response?
Yes, Your Honor. This exhibit is presented to recall the memory of Miss Weirs at the time of making her decision about her non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
The objection is overruled. The exhibit is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dakota, from this label, what was the danger you understood you would be avoiding if you followed these recommendations?
I thought that I would be avoiding causing irritation in my eyes.
Was there any indication to you that you may need to follow these safety recommendations to avoid cancer?
No.
Were you ever told of any serious conditions caused by Lush fertilizer?
No,
So, to be clear, were you ever told non-Hodgkin's lymphoma was a possibility if you did not follow the recommendations on the safety packaging?
I was never told that.
Objection leading.
Response?
Your Honor, I can rephrase the question.
The objection to sustain, please rephrase.
Were you ever, what recommendations were you told to follow?
We were told to cover our faces with masks and wear long sleeves and long pants.
What were you told would happen if you did not?
We were told that it would cause inflations in our eyes and around our face.
Did they ever warn against cancer or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
No, they did not.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. No further questions for this witness.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Weirs. You worked at Haven Landscaping throughout high school.
Yes,
During your employment there, you used the product Lush fertilizer.
yes, I did.
You've used several fertilizers and other chemicals during your employment there.
Yes, we did.
Is it possible for you to say how often you used Lush fertilizer as compared to these other products?
I will say that there's no way, but we know that Lush was one of our most prominent fertilizers that we used.
And you were instructed by your boss to cover your face and any exposed skin while working with these products?
We were.
And you found the protective gear too hot?
Yes, especially during the summer. We thought that we could overheat easily and get a heat stroke possibly.
Did you wear the protective gear when handling these chemicals?
No, again, when it was too hot, I thought that the great risk that I was taking would be in my face and around my eyes, so I would take it off when working.
Thank you. When you were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma, you were devastated.
Absolutely. I mean, my whole life was ruined.
And so you wanted answers.
Yes.
And you turned to the internet to give you answers?
No, I found a story of Lush and Drufo of some documents that got leaked, and then I turned to my father, and then we turned to research.
Yes, however, you and your father decided to search on Google
Yes,
after you heard about Drufo from a news story.
yes,
You searched about Drufo exclusively.
yes, we did.
You did not try to research any other chemical or product you may have used during your employment at Haven Landscaping.
I didn't feel I needed to research any other product.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
Great, thank you. Any direct?
No, not at this time, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. This witness may be excused. You may call your next witness.
Yes, apologies, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Carson Durst to the stand.
Okay.
May you please state and spell your name for the court?
My name is Carson Durst, D-U-R-S-T.
Ms. Durst, can you please tell me, if any, your association to Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, I started working at Lush in 2003. I spent about 3 years there. And I was originally hired as an intern and then worked my way up in the labs to become a product development engineer after I graduated with my degree in chemical engineering.
What did you do as a product development engineer?
My biggest assignment was working to develop Drufo, which is the bonding agent in Lush's main fertilizer.
Do you think you could maybe explain further in depth what Drufo is?
Drufo is a very special bonding agent that allows the nutrients within the fertilizer to stick to the plant more vigorously than in other fertilizers.
What was your role in the development of Drufo?
I was tasked with researching a very specific chemical in Drufo and making sure it was safe.
What research had been done to that point?
When I first got to Lush, they had been doing an in-house research on the safety of Drufo. The research and development team was in the middle of that, and I was tasked with doing outside research to see if there was any other companies or organizations that had looked into Drufo so I could gain more understanding.
How did you conduct this research?
I did what is called a literature research.
What did you find in that literature research about Drufo?
Oh, well, one of the most compelling things I found, against many others, was a study from England that found possible carcinogenic ties within Drufo.
Did you keep notes during your research?
Yes, I kept extensive notes.
Did you note that study in your notes at the time you found it?
Of course.
What date was that?
That was June 10th, 2003.
Did you share these notes with Lush Fertilizer representatives?
Yes, I did. It was part of our main course of business to provide our notes to everybody, specifically to Jerry Langley, who is a product manager, and then they took our findings and compiled it into a single report for senior management from all of the analysts and researchers on that project.
Your Honor, I ask for Exhibit 3 to be presented to the witness.
Right, you may.
Ms. Durst, can you please tell me what Exhibit 3 is?
So this is the study I found from England that explains the carcinogenic ties within the chemical I was researching found within Drufo.
What chemical is that?
C3NO9P.
What is C3NO9P?
It is the chemical in Drufo that is potentially carcinogenic.
And what is the title of that study that you found?
It is called lifespan exposure to low doses of C3NO9P beginning during early life increases cancer effects in rats.
Is this a true and accurate copy of the study you found in your research?
Yes, it is.
At this time, the plaintiff moves to have Exhibit 3 admitted into evidence.
Objection from the defense?
Objection hearsay.
Your Honor, this is not being offered for the truth of the matter. This is being offered to show what Lush Fertilizer had available to them at the time. This shows that Lush Fertilizer did have access to a study that they could use.
Your Honor, may I respond?
May.
Your Honor, I believe that this is disingenuous and that it is being offered for the truth of the matter.
Your Honor, may I reply?
Yes, this will be the last reply, and then I will rule.
Your Honor, again, this is not being offered for the truth. We just want to show that Lush Fertilizers did have access to a study and to show that they could use this study and if they wanted to help make decisions further for their product.
All right, thank you. The objection is overruled. The exhibit is admitted.
All right, was there a follow-up to whether Truffaut could potentially be carcinogenic?
Yes, in September of that year, Lush announced that they were planning to do a follow-up study regarding the safety of Truffaut and its potential carcinogens in humans.
Was that study done?
As to my knowledge, it was, yes.
Are you aware of what happened next?
Yes, in December, we all met in the conference room again to discuss our findings with upper management and come to a conclusion.
Was concern raised about Truffaut being potentially carcinogenic?
Yes, it was. It was one of our main points that we raised in our meeting.
Did that concern include non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Yes, it did.
Were you able to observe the upper management when this information was provided?
Yes, I was.
What was upper management's reaction to this?
Alex Monroe seemed to be very apprehensive specifically. The whole upper management seemed to me to want to keep it within the walls. They didn't want us sharing it.
Objection, speculation.
Your response?
I have laid foundation that Ms. Durst was at the meeting. She is simply explaining what she has observed and what she has heard at this meeting.
All right. The objection is overruled. The witness may answer the question.
So what was upper management's reaction to concerns of Truffaut being potentially carcinogenic?
Based on what I observed, they all seemed very apprehensive and anxious. They seemed like they didn't want us to share it with anybody. They wanted to keep it quiet and not let it get outside the walls of the conference room.
Was there a written report generated as a result of this meeting?
Yes.
Did you read it?
I did. I reviewed it.
Did the report reflect what you had observed in that meeting?
Based on my observations, no, it did not. It seemed to sugarcoat the ideas of carcinogens, especially carcinogens in humans. It seemed to kind of cover it up.
Did that report mention non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
No, it did not.
Did the report mention a way to make Truffaut have no concerns about being carcinogenic?
Yes, as I was reading the report, I came across something that said there was a way to make the fertilizer 100% guaranteed safe.
How could you do that?
The report said the company could simply bake their fertilizer and there would be no potential harm at all to its consumers.
To your knowledge, after this information was given, did Lush Fertilizer decide to bake their fertilizer?
No, they did not.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Durst. You are the lead product developer for Terrace Greenery.
Yes, I am now.
And at Terrace Greenery, you are the head of the research and development team.
Yes, I am. I worked hard for that position.
You oversee the development of lawn enhancement products.
Yes, I do.
You previously worked for Lush Fertilizer.
I did, yeah.
And you know that Terrace Greenery is Lush Fertilizer's biggest competitor.
Well, there's no way to say for sure. It's a big market, but it is a competitor, yes.
At
Terrace Greenery, you mainly worked on a new product on the verge of outperforming Lush Fertilizer's equivalent products.
Yes, I'm hoping it'll.
Objection, speculation.
Any response?
Your Honor, I believe that this is not speculation. May I respond?
Yes.
There is no guaranteed way that Ms. Durst would know that this product would actually outrun Lush's company or Lush's products. There is no guaranteed way that she would know this. And she would be speculating.
All right, the objection is sustained. You may rephrase your question if you wish.
You know Blake Downcourt, the CEO and founder of Lush Fertilizer.
Yes, I do.
In fact, you and Blake Downcourt's oldest son, Charles, were best friends.
We were when we were younger, yes. Not so much now.
You played soccer together on the traveling team.
We did. Good memories.
The Downcourts were your ride to every single soccer game.
Yes, they were. Soccer was fun and they were a fun family.
You had Sunday dinner at the Downcourts.
I did.
You took trips to their lake house in the summer.
I did, yes.
You and Charles Downcourt even went to Arizona State at the same time.
Yes, we did.
When you graduated, Charles suggested that you apply for an internship at Lush Fertilizer.
Yes, he knew I was looking for a job in that industry and was helping me out.
You described the Downcourts as the family you never had.
Yes, they were at one point a very good family to me.
And you got the internship at Lush Fertilizer.
I did get the internship. I had just graduated with my degree and I was a good candidate for the job.
After 3 months, you were promoted to full-time.
I worked really hard for that. Yes, I'm proud of that accomplishment.
When you were hired at Lush Fertilizer, you signed a non-compete agreement.
I did, although I was very young and was confused by some of the legal wording.
In 2005, you got an abysmal performance review.
I did. You can't please everybody, I guess.
This was not your first.
Yeah, apparently not.
You had conflict with Gary Langley, your direct supervisor.
Yes, they, for whatever reason, seemed not to like me. I never knew why.
So you went over his head to your best friend's father, Blake Downcourt, the CEO and founder of Lush Fertilizer.
I wanted my concerns to be validated. I wanted to make sure our consumer was safe. So yes, I went to the person who I thought would listen.
You told him that Gary Langley had it out for you.
Well, I couldn't figure out what was going on. I just was saying what I could to make sure my concerns were being taken seriously.
And Blake Downcourt told you to grow up and just do your job.
Yes, they seem.
Objection, hearsay.
Response?
Your Honor, this is not for the truth of the matter, but for the effect on the listener.
Right, the objection is sustained. The matter is hearsay. You may rephrase.
You left his office disheartened.
Yes, it was sad to see a friend upset.
You were seething by the time you got to the lab downstairs.
I was concerned for our consumers and our customers, and the fact that their safety had been disregarded was disheartening.
You felt betrayed by someone whose family you felt you were part of.
Yes, I thought that they, like me, had aligned morals, wanted to keep the consumer safe, and when I found out that wasn't the truth, it hurt.
You learned that Terrace Greenery had job openings.
Yes, I still wanted to work in the industry, but I wanted somewhere that had the safety of the consumer more so in mind.
And you knew that they were Lush Fertilizer's biggest competitor. Objection, speculation.
Response?
Your Honor, I believe the witnesses mentioned in their statement that they knew that Lush Fertilizer was one of the biggest competitors of Terrace Greenery. Just because it is in their Your Honor, just because it is in their statement, it doesn't mean it's not speculation.
Great. The objection is overruled. The witness may testify as to her personal observation.
Can you repeat the question, please?
You knew that Terrace Greenery was one of Lush Fertilizer's biggest competitors.
I thought so. There were lots of competitors, but it was definitely one of them, I think.
You knew that Blake Doncourt and the CEO of Terrace Greenery had nothing but bad blood between them.
Well, I mean, based on observations, I don't know. I'm neither one of those people, but I guess so.
When you were fired from Lush Fertilizer, you had already been hired by Terrace Greenery.
Yes, I thought it was smarter to get a job before quit the other one, but I was fired, so I guess it didn't matter.
Your Honor, may Exhibit 5 be displayed on screen?
You may.
Misters, this is the non-compete agreement you signed at Lush Fertilizer.
Yes, it appears to be.
And is this a true and accurate copy of the agreement you signed on June 1st, 2003?
From my memory, yes, it is.
That is your signature on the second page.
Yes, it is.
In signing this non-compete agreement, you agreed to and adopted its terms.
I did, but I was young and honestly confused by some of the legal wording on it.
Your Honor, at this time, I move to enter Exhibit 5 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
Right, the document is the exhibit is admitted.
Misters, let's look at paragraph 1. This states that during the employment and for a period of 2 years after the separation of employment for any reason, the employee will not directly or indirectly engage in any competitive business and shall not become directly or indirectly engaged in any business that would benefit from the disclosure of Lush's trade secrets. You're applying for and taking the job from Terrace Greenery, Lush Fertilizer's biggest competitor, was in fact directly engaging in business that would benefit from the disclosure of Lush's trade secrets.
Yes, but that is an entirely different lawsuit from the one we were for today, I think.
But you had felt betrayed by Blake Doncourt.
I felt betrayed by their overlooking their consumers' safety.
And you decided that you needed to look out for yourself.
And the consumer. I figured I didn't want my name attached to a product that was hurting people.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right, this witness is excused. You may call your next witness.
The plaintiff calls Dr. Casey Rogers to the stand. Good morning, Mr. Rogers.
Good morning.
Would you please state and spell your last name for the record today?
My name is Dr. Casey Rogers, and that's Rogers, Rogers.
Thank you. I would like to talk to you about your profession. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
And where do you work?
At the University of California at Berkeley.
Do you conduct any research as part of your work?
Yes, I do.
And what exactly is your profession?
I'm a professor of horticulture and entomology.
Thank you. And what specifically, do you have any interests that your research focuses on?
Specifically, in the past, I've worked with many pesticides, specifically in the areas of toxicology and agriculture and entomology.
Now, I would like to talk to you about your education. Do you have any certified degrees?
Yes, I have an agriculture and chemistry degree from University of Colorado and a PhD in agriculture and entomology from the University of California at Berkeley.
Do you keep a curriculum vitae as part of your regular business activity?
Yes.
Do you make and manage this document yourself?
Yes, I do.
Would you recognize this document if you saw it?
Of course.
Your Honor, I would now request that we present the witness with what has been marked as Exhibit 6.
You may.
Let the record reflect that we are currently presenting what has been marked as Exhibit 6 and visible to opposing and co-counsel. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And what is this document?
This is my curriculum vitae.
Is it a true and accurate copy of your curriculum vitae?
Yes.
Your Honor, I now take this time to move Exhibit 6 into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Objection, hearsay.
And what's the response?
Your Honor, I have laid the foundation for this document to be admitted under the exception to the hearsay rule. That is a regular business activity and is made and managed by the witness themselves.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
I believe that they have not laid the proper foundations for the business record exception.
All right. The objection is overruled. The document is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have you published any research as a part of your regular business activity?
Yes, I have.
Is it part of that activity to keep track of that research?
Of course.
And how do you conduct this research?
Well, I conduct my own experiments, but then I also analyze the experiments and research conducted by my scientific peers.
Is there any specific item your publications have often focused on?
Yes, I've done extensive research on toxicology and the metabolism of those actual toxins, and I've heavily researched the chemical Drufo in specific.
Were these publications a part of your regular business activity?
Yes, of course.
And Your Honor, may I present to the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 7?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let the record reflect that we are now presenting to the witness and opposing and co-counsel what has been marked as Exhibit 7. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
What is this document?
This is an index of all my published works.
Do you make and manage this document yourself?
Yes.
Is this a true and accurate copy of the document you have made and managed?
Yes.
Your Honor, I now take this time to admit Exhibit 7 into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Objection, relevance.
This goes to the credibility of my witness and his previous experience in the field presently being talked about in court today.
Any further response?
I stand by my objection, Your Honor.
Right. The objection is overruled. The document is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I now move to admit Dr. Rogers as an expert in agriculture, chemistry, and toxicology to be allowed to provide opinions under Rule 702 and 703.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. I object to this witness being admitted as an expert under toxicology.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
We have laid foundation that this witness has significant experience and research within the field to satisfy the qualifications as an expert in it.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
This witness does not have a degree in toxicology. Therefore, I believe that the proper foundations have not been laid for this expert to be admitted as an expert in the field of toxicology.
Right. The objection is overruled. The witness may testify as an expert in the area of toxicology.
Thank you, Your Honor. What did you discover in your research of Drufo?
I discovered that the exposure of Drufo is directly correlated with an increased chance of developing specific types of endocrine and exocrine cancers.
And was your research furthered by personal studies you've conducted yourself?
Yes, I in fact designed my own study where I measured and personally observed many people who were exposed to different levels of Drufo on a regular basis. And over the course of years, I was able to monitor their health and any new medical developments that occurred in correlation with their exposure to Drufo.
Did these results correlate with what you have said previously of the connection from Drufo to cancer?
Absolutely.
And what type of cancers specifically did you discover?
Well, I found that it often relates to the development of cancers in the lymph nodes and immune system, such as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Why is the development of these cancers specifically significant within your research?
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is specifically an environmental cancer, which means that it doesn't develop by just sheer chance or like faulty genetics. It has to come from an external force, which in these cases was obviously Drufo.
And how exactly did you conduct that research?
Well, I used multiple angles that got me to my conclusion, but I obviously had to review the work of my fellow scientists who are also researching in this field. And then secondly, as I previously stated, I conducted my own experiments.
Is reviewing that research a part of your regular business practice?
Of course.
And did you see any limitations in your own research?
No, my research took course over literal years. It was exceptionally thorough, and it's very unlikely that it's flawed.
Thank you. And what were the results of your study compared to the results of the studies that you researched as part of your business practice?
They were very similar. I found that people who were exposed to Drufo on a highly regular basis, sometimes almost daily, increased a much higher risk of developing cancer such as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. In fact, almost 10 times more likely to.
And what did you do with all of these study results that you have?
Well, obviously, I went directly to the manufacturers of the chemical because, it's dangerous. It's like giving people cancer, and it's likely that it's killing people. So the most important thing as of now is to just get it off the market entirely until we can find a way to re-engineer it that makes it safe.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Dr. Rogers. You are a professor in horticulture and entomology at the University of California, Berkeley.
Good morning. Yes, I am.
You do not have a degree in toxicology.
No, however, I have a degree in chemistry and agriculture, which are both pertinent to that field.
But you do not hold a degree specifically in toxicology.
Objection, relevance.
Response.
This goes to the expertise of this witness as they were qualified in toxicology. And I'm simply just asking them if they have a degree in this field that they are qualified in.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
This witness is already qualified as an expert in toxicology, and I don't see any need for further examining on that expertise.
The objection is overruled. Answer.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat the question, Dr. Rogers?
Please.
Do you have a degree in toxicology?
No, most of it is an incredibly broad field.
You are not a medical doctor.
No.
You work as a research analyst.
Yes, and I'm also a professor at the University of California, Berkeley.
Thank you. You have created a list of publications, correct?
Of course.
And these publications include articles on Drufo.
Yes.
You also conducted a study.
Yes.
You are concerned about many agricultural products on the market.
Yes.
And you are concerned about Drufo specifically?
Yes, because it's the most popular fertilizer in the entire world.
Thank you. In this study that you have conducted, you compared people with little exposure to Drufo to people with occasional exposure to Drufo and people with a lot of exposure to Drufo.
Yes, I have.
And these people include farm laborers and gardeners?
Yes, because those people will be much more exposed to the chemical if they use it almost regularly.
And you are aware that these farm laborers and gardeners use many different types of agricultural products?
Of course.
And you do not know the specifics or frequencies to which these other products were used?
No.
And you realize that these people could have developed cancer even in the absence of any agricultural product?
Well, based on your question, you have to.
Objection, speculation. This witness is not an expert in any medical field.
Your response?
Your Honor, may I have the chance to rephrase the question?
You may. The objection is overruled. You may rephrase. The objection is sustained. You may rephrase.
Dr. Rogers, you are aware that that people can develop non-Hodgkin lymphoma even in the absence of any product like Drupo?
Well, as I previously said, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is an externally caused cancer, meaning that there has to be something, some sort of product that causes it. And so if all these people were exposed to Drufo,
Thank you.
it's obvious that.
Dr. Rogers, thank you. You created a list of safety measures.
Of course.
And this list includes long garments, like long sleeves and long pants.
Yes.
It also includes an N95 mask.
Yes, that's because the cancer is caused by absorbing it through the skin.
Thank you. So as an expert, you believe that Dakota Weirs could have been protected?
It's certainly possible. However, those warnings.
This is a yes or no question. As an expert, you believe that Dakota Weirs could have been protected?
Objection, speculation.
Your response?
Your Honor, I do not believe that that was speculation. I was simply just asking the witness about the safety measures that they had specifically written about.
Your Honor, may I respond?
May.
This question calls for the witness to speculate on a situation outside of their own studies that they might not know of. This witness may provide opinions on toxicology, chemistry, or agriculture, but not speculate onto the exact happenings of what Dakota Weirs could or could not have done.
The objection is sustained. You may rephrase if you wish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Rogers, according to the list of safety measures that you formed, you believe there were ways to be protected against Drupo?
Yes, and that's why I suggested it.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No redirect at this time, Your Honor.
All right, the witness is excused.
Thank you.
For the defense, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense calls Dr. Devin Williams. Dr. Williams, can you please state and spell your name for the court?
Devin Williams, Williams.
Can you please tell us how you earned the honorific doctor?
Well, yes, of course. I have a PhD in pharmacology with a toxicology specialization.
Can you please tell us what exactly that means, pharmacology with a toxicology specialization?
My education emphasized how biological systems respond to environmental interventions.
Do you have an employer?
Yes, I do.
Who is your employer?
Well, I have two of them. I am the tenured assistant professor at the University of New Mexico College of Pharmacy teaching toxicology, and I'm also the tenured assistant professor. Oh, I'm sorry, I already said that. At the lead toxicology research and development labs at Lush Fertilizer, and I serve as the ongoing chair of the ethics committee.
So you're a professor as well.
Yes, I am.
What are the courses that you teach as a professor?
I teach forensic toxicology 1 and 2, toxicology of environmental and occupational chemicals, and principles of forensic toxicology.
Do you believe that your experience as a graduate level professor is relevant to the issues before us?
I mean, yes, of course. All of what I do, for an example, is teach a full graduate's course on toxicology of environmental and occupational chemicals at the College of Pharmacy. It is my understanding that Mrs. Weirs asserts that occupational exposure to the chemical had a toxic effect.
Besides your work in schooling, what work do you have that is relevant?
I was the chief medical examiner at Lamers County.
Dr. Williams, do you happen to have any certifications?
Yes, I do.
Can you please tell us what they are?
Well, are you asking about my other degrees that I have, or just publications?
I was asking about any professional publications that you may have. Sorry.
Yes, of course. I have, I'm currently working on a study, and I have publications at various other stages.
Thank you. Your Honor, I now move to have Dr. Devin Williams recognized as an expert in pharmacology and toxicology, specifically toxicology of environmental and occupational hazards under Rule 702, so that she may provide opinions under Rule 703.
Any objection?
No objection for the plaintiff, Your Honor.
All right, the witness may testify as an expert.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Williams, can you please tell us what eutrophication is?
Yes, of course. So to begin, nitrogen is a key component in fertilizer, but eutrophication is when the nitrogen runs off into the water, creating algae to grow. These algae can be harmful to the fish living in the water, and more importantly, creates harmful bacteria that can be dangerous to humans.
In your opinion, is there anything that can be done to prevent agricultural runoff?
Well, yes. In simplest terms, it's DRUFO. DRUFO has the ability to chemically combine the nitrates together within the plants, halting the eutrophication process right at the beginning.
Thank you. I would now like to ask you a few questions about your work at Lush. What is your job at Lush Fertilizer?
My job is to oversee the environmental impacts on Lush's products.
In that position, did you participate in the analysis of data regarding DRUFO?
Yes, I did.
Did this include if there was an increased risk of the development of cancers, including non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Yes, we did study that.
Did you find any results?
As a matter of fact, we did.
What were the results that you found of the study?
Well, with all of the data that we have analyzed, it all came back in a normal confidence level.
Can you please tell us what that means?
Well, in other words, with all of the data that we have looked at, it was consistent with the use of fertilizers, with DRUFO not having an elevated risk for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma compared to the use of other fertilizers.
Has DRUFO been correlated with a statistically significant increase in the incidence of non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
No, it is not. And I think I need to explain something important here that needs to be understood.
Objection, speculation. There's no way this witness understands every single conclusion that's brought to be on DRUFO.
Response? So there wasn't a question, it was an objection to the answer. So at this time, the objection is overruled. There was no question. So you may proceed with your question.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Williams, you were telling us about something you would like to explain.
Yes, I think it would be best if I explain it in the statistical element.
Okay, please do.
Well, say if you have a jar of 100,000 jelly beans, red and blue correlated in there with the same exact amounts, and say that you were to pick out exactly 5. There would not be, well, exactly 10. You wouldn't get exactly 5 of each. It would be something close to 50-50, but not exact. We have statistical formulas that can prove the probability of these things happening. If there was even 100,000, the likelihood would be too remote, leading to
Objection, narrative.
Response?
Your Honor, I don't believe that this is narrative.
Any further response?
Yes, I believe that the witness was repeating ideas that they had already said previously in this answer, Your Honor. Thank you.
Right, the objection is overruled. She'll continue to explain the concept.
leading to there being a confidence level of there not actually being a probability of this happening.
Can you please explain how this relates to the incident of non-Hodgkin lymphoma specifically?
Yes, of course. If you take any large group of people, some of them will develop non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that have used these fertilizers. Did it really have Drufo play a role in it, or the same people who have not used the fertilizers come down with the disease as well?
Can you please tell us how that is significant here?
This is significant because it explains the confidence level. There is just not verified scientific studies that prove a connection between Drufo and cancer in human fertilizers, including non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. What you have heard today is postulation, speculation, and vivification of a company striving to improve the environment.
Dr. Williams, are you aware of the study conducted by Dr. Rogers?
Yes, I am.
Do you happen to have an opinion on that study?
Yes, I do.
What is your opinion?
Well, you have to understand the difference between postulation and speculation, between proof and between science and speculation, between proof and postulation. We use the scientific method to verify with replications and have peer review for a reason. I applaud a curious mind, for I have been working with students for years. That is what I do. And I ask them to come up with postulation, something they want to investigate all of the time.
What do you mean exactly by that?
Well, I always warn them, when you're set out to find what you're trying to find, you always have to question the results. That is exactly what Mr. Rogers has done here.
How does this relate exactly to Dr. Rogers' study?
This relates exactly to Dr. Rogers' study because, well, you have to compare apples to apples for a reliable study. The first thing wrong with Rogers' work was it was not done. The group studied farm laborers and gardeners versus people who don't do either of those things. It didn't take into account that the farm laborers and gardeners are exposed to many different products and environmental conditions. They use pesticides, plant foods, and different types of fertilizers, a number of things that could be environmental toxin for the study group, or for Mrs. Weirs as the fact.
Do you see anything wrong with Dr. Rogers' study?
Well, yes, besides the fundamental problem, there has not been any replication or peer review of this study.
Are you confident in Dr. Rogers' study?
No, I am not.
Why aren't you confident?
Well, in order for a community to rely upon someone's scientific work, and me as an expert, these steps are crucial in making a study. Without it, it is just what we have to call as junk science.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. I have no further questions for this witness.
Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Hello. Good morning, Dr. Williams. You work for Lush Fertilizer.
Correct.
You're on the board at Lush Fertilizer?
Correct.
And you yourself have previously admitted you are financially biased.
Paid but not biased.
You have said in the past that you are financially biased in this case.
I have said that, well, I am a teacher. It is not exactly for the money.
You have made that statement, though, previously that you are financially biased. Is that correct? Previously?
Financially motivated, but not biased.
I will just move on. You work on the ethics committee at Lush,
Yes, yes, I do.
and with Drufro specifically.
Yes, that is correct.
You worked on Drufo after over half the development team left.
Yes, that is true.
You were aware of a study on Drufo done by the European Union.
Yes, I am aware of that study.
That study banned the usage of Drufo.
Not due to carcinogenic reasons.
Well, the other studies, other countries use this study to base a ban for themselves.
Well, we have different rules there and here. Yes, of course.
So there was a trust of the European Union study, even outside of the European Union.
Well, mostly due to political popularity, but yes.
And it was banned because it produces too many nitrates in the environment, correct?
For them, yes, that is correct.
Drufo's patent is to prevent nitrate leak in the environment.
Yes, yes, it is.
That nitrate leak is dangerous to humans.
Not at an extreme amount, but I would say not exactly, but maybe a little bit correct.
The company has done their own studies on Drufo.
Yes, yes, they have.
And those were funded internally by Lush.
Yes, yes, they were.
Those studies did not find any excess nitrates.
They did not.
This is in opposition to the study done by the European Union.
Yes, they take different precautionary steps than we do in the United States.
And you have said that you are glad that the United States takes different precautionary steps because otherwise it would be banned here.
Yes, the EU handles things very differently than us.
Multiple studies have been done on Drufo's carcinogenic nature.
Yes.
Multiple of those studies have led to ties towards cancer, correct?
Not with the study that I conducted.
But there were other studies that have tied it, correct?
Not complete ones.
Well, you are discounting those ties.
Yes.
Just as Lush discounts the ties between the nitrogen leak discovered by the European Union.
As said before, the United States handle things differently.
Objection, speculation.
Response?
This witness is not only an expert, but also a high-ranking member in the Lush Fertilizer Board, and so would have specific knowledge within the rulings of the company on their dealings with outside studies.
Your Honor, may I please respond?
You may.
You are asking our witness to speak about regulations in other countries that we are not a part of.
Right. The objection is overruled. The witness may respond.
I'll re-ask the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Lush, again, as has happened previously with the European Union, discounts the ties of other studies, correct?
Correct. Yes, it does.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. And I forgot where we're at. Are we ready for the next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would like to call Skylar Weirs to the stand. There, she's coming.
My name is Skylar Weirs. That's Weirs.
Good afternoon, or good morning, Ms. Spears. What is your occupation?
I am an investigative journalist. I work for The Rationalist, which is a science education and science advocacy magazine. I also work part-time as a waitress at Applebee's.
What specifically do you write your articles about?
I write my articles about the conflict between individual health and corporate policy.
Have you ever written about agritech or fertilizer?
Yes, I have.
And have you ever written or researched DRUFO?
Yes, I have. Drufo has been a big part of my research. It was part of a series of agritech that I wrote and published.
How long did you spend researching DRUFO?
I've spent about a year researching Drufo.
And how did you go about your research?
I would read various different agritectural companies' policies. I also tracked down and researched information from the USDA and NASDA.
Your Honor, I now would like to ask that Ms. Weers be admitted as an expert in agritech.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor, but may I do voir dire?
You may.
Hello, good morning, Ms. Weers. You do not have a degree in journalism, correct?
No, I do not.
You do not have a degree in agricultural sciences.
No, I do not.
You do not have a degree in chemistry.
No,
You do not have a degree in toxicology.
no,
You have no scientific degree.
no,
You do not have any college degree.
no.
Are you saying no as in no, I do not, or no, I do not have a degree, or no as in I do?
No, I did not go to college, and many successful people don't go to college.
You do not have any college degree.
No,
You have never attended college, as a matter of fact.
no,
So you have no formal education in any of these fields.
no, but I did attend high school.
You are 20 years old.
Yes,
You graduated high school a few years ago.
yes, that's correct.
Your research was what others have said and done.
Yes,
You are not qualified to conduct medical research yourself.
no, I am not.
And you have not done medical research yourself.
No,
You are a server at Applebee's.
yes, and I really don't see the problem with that. Lots of people are great waitresses.
You have not worked in agriculture.
No,
You are not a farmer.
no,
You are not a landscaper.
no,
You have not worked in toxicology.
no, but I do read a lot about it.
You have not worked in chemistry.
No, but I do feel very knowledgeable in chemistry.
You do not have any experience in the biotech industry.
No,
You sell articles to a magazine promoting scientific skepticism.
yes,
Your Honor, we object to Skylar Weers being recognized as an expert in this matter. Skylar Weers does not have the skill, experience, training, or education that would qualify her under the rules of evidence. It is misleading to the jury to allow this person to provide their opinions in this matter.
Right, any response?
Your Honor, may I remind you of your pretrial ruling? I believe that I have laid the foundation for Ms. Weers to have the proper knowledge and experience, as she has researched DRUFO for over a year from certified companies such as the USDA and NASDA. And Rule 702 provides that a witness is not required to hold a specific degree in order to be admitted as an expert.
Right, the objection is overruled. The witness may testify as an expert.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Weers, you mentioned that you spent around a year researching DRUFO. What did your research find regarding DRUFO and cancer?
my research found that there's no.
Objection, Your Honor. This goes against the pretrial ruling. This witness cannot provide medical opinions, so she would not have the knowledge to whether DRUFO may cause cancer or not.
Right, any response?
Your Honor, this goes to the weight of the testimony.
Right, the objection is sustained. You may proceed.
Okay. Sorry. Ms. Weers, have you researched other grass seed products?
Yes, I have.
And what did your research find regarding those grass seed products?
The International Agency for Research on categorized on cancer categorized arsenic as a carcinogen, as well as glyphosate as a possible carcinogen. Yeah, and Drufo does not contain either glyphosate or arsenic.
So what is different about Drufo?
Drufo bonds to Lush Fertilizer's active ingredients, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and means that it doesn't have to be applied as often because it doesn't get washed away as easily. So Drufo only needs to be applied once or twice a year. As other fertilizer companies, they need to be applied 5 to 6 times a year. And sometimes, oftentimes, they also have these recognized carcinogens.
Objection narrative.
Response?
Your Honor, I believe that this is not a narrative. Ms. Weirs is simply just answering the question and is explaining what is different about Drufo, which is what she has done her research on.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
This question could have been broken down into multiple different questions. This is a very long run-on answer.
Right. The objection is overruled. The witness may continue to describe as asked.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So like I was saying, other fertilizer companies have these known carcinogens like glyphosate and arsenic, and have to be applied way more often than Lush Fertilizer, up to 5 or 6 times a year.
So in your sorry, what would that mean for the user?
The user of Drufo is not at risk of these known carcinogens in Lush Fertilizer. Like
Objection, Your Honor, this goes against the pretrial ruling, not necessarily the question, but the answer the witness is giving.
Response?
Your Honor, this is an expert witness, and I ask that this is in what she understands, in her understanding of her extensive research on Drufo.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
This witness is not qualified to give medical opinions, and thus she can only give testimony on agritech. She is giving opinions on whether Drufo is carcinogenic and if the user can get cancer from using this. It is not under her pretrial ruling of agritech.
Right, so the objection is overruled. Well, in part, the witness may not provide medical speculation, but the witness may testify as to personal knowledge of the research conducted.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Ms. Weirs, in your understanding and your research, what would this be for the effect on the competitors such as Terrace Greenery?
Drufo is patented. There has been millions of dollars spent on the old guard of agritech to destroy the reputation of Lush Fertilizer, and to just since Lush Fertilizer is so prevalent in their industry.
Ms. Weirs, what is your relationship with the plaintiff?
Dakota Weirs is my twin sibling.
So why are you testifying today that Drufo did not cause their health problems?
I stand by
Objection, Your Honor. Again, this goes against the pretrial ruling. The question of testifying about Dakota's health. Ms. Weirs is not qualified to give opinions about Dakota's health.
Response?
Your Honor, under Rule 703, this witness is qualified as an expert in agritech in her research that she has done, and she is allowed to give her opinion on what Drufo could have caused.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, this question is not going under agritech. It is asking her to provide medical opinions, which she is not qualified to do.
Right. The objection is overruled in part. The witness may not provide medical speculation, but the witness may provide testimony as to her own personal knowledge as to the research she has conducted.
So, Ms. Weirs, why are you testifying today that Drufo did not cause Dakota Weir's health problems?
I stand by my research, and in all of my research, I have found that there is no causal link between Drufo and cancer. And though I feel very, very saddened by my sibling's illness, it's very hard to see her go through that. But I do stand by my research, and not to mention, my sibling also could have been exposed to these other known carcinogens like glyphosate and arsenic.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Ms. Weers, you're here to testify regarding the reading you have done.
Yes,
And that is what you have done, reading.
yes, reading and research.
You started your reading with publications issued by the agri-tech companies like Lush Fertilizer.
That's correct, and the USDA and NSDA.
And the direction of your reading from there was dictated by the contents of those industry articles.
Yes,
You are a freelance writer.
yes,
Your job is to write articles for a magazine.
yes, and I'm very good at my job.
And if they buy your articles, you get paid.
Yes,
That magazine is run by the Rationalist Society, which is devoting to promoting scientific skepticism.
yes, and the truth.
You have done investigative journalism on many topics.
Yes,
And you are a worker at Applebee's to make ends meet.
yes, and I don't see a problem with it.
And you are waiting for your career to take off, your writing career to take off.
Yes, and I do believe that I'm very good at what I do.
And you're being paid today to testify on behalf of Lush Fertilizer.
That's correct, and I do stand by my research.
And that is because you have done reading about Drufo for a series of articles you have sold to a magazine.
Yes, and I've been doing this for a year.
This reading was not at the direction of anyone else, like a professor or your editor. You choose what to review and you have interpreted what you read.
No. Or yes.
And it is your interpretations of what you have read that you are testifying here today.
Yes.
Now, speaking of your fee to testify on behalf of Lush Fertilizer, you admit that you are in debt because of gambling.
Yes, and I really do enjoy gambling, and lots of other people enjoy gambling as well. And
Thank
yes,
you.
it's absolutely fine.
Thank you. You admit that virtually every commercial pesticide has several well-known carcinogens.
Yes.
By that definition, you agree pesticides and herbicides are poison.
Yes.
All modern grass seeds are treated with herbicides.
Yes.
Nitrogen is known to contribute to various types of cancer.
That's correct.
Lush Fertilizer includes the active ingredient of nitrogen.
Yes.
Drufo, which is a breakthrough bonding agent in Lush Fertilizer, is a pesticide.
Yes.
You admit that there is research done on whether Drufo causes cancer.
Yes.
And your conclusion, based upon the literature that you have read, starting with the company's publications, is that it is inconclusive at best.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may call your next witness.
The defense calls Blake Doncourt to the stand. Good morning, Mr. Doncourt. May you please state and spell your name for the court?
Blake Doncourt, Doncourt, and that's 2 T's.
Thank you. Mr. Doncourt, are you currently employed?
I am currently employed, yes.
And where are you employed?
I'm currently employed at Lush Fertilizer, my company.
And what do you do for your company?
Well, I'm the Chief Operating Officer, the CEO.
And as the CEO, what are your specific roles and duties?
So basically, I run the company. So that's the Research and Development Department, or the R&D department, as we all call it. The money, or like I oversee the money, and like day-to-day operations, I guess.
And what is the product that your company is all about?
So we are in the business of fertilizer manufacturing. So that would, it's mainly our flagship product, Lush Fertilizer.
And what does this product or your fertilizer do for the grass?
Your
Well,
Honor, objection, relevance.
Response?
Your Honor, I believe that this is relevant because it goes to my witnesses' motive in this case, as well as talking about the chemical drupo and what it does specifically for the environment.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
The question asks what your product does. That does not relate to the chemicals inside the product. That is simply just a question about how it affects the grass.
Right, the objection is overruled. The witness may answer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Doncourt, would you consider your company a success?
I think so, yeah.
And with this success, what have you been able to do?
So many things. So with our success, we've been granted the privilege to be able to donate 10% of our profits to charity, be instrumental in creating national legislation with combating the nitrogen footprint in the environment on the state and national level. We have won the SEAL Sustainability Award. I personally have been so much stuff, it's hard to keep in my head. I personally have been I personally won the United Nations Champions of the Earth Award as well.
Thank you. And Mr. Doncourt, what is your reason for being here today?
I think Dakota is, I think, angry about her.
Your Honor, objection, speculation.
A response?
Your Honor, I am asking my witness what the reason for being here today is, and I do not believe that that is speculation.
Your Honor, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, in the witness's response, they bring up Dakota Weir's thoughts, which they have no right to discuss.
Right, the objection is sustained. You may rephrase your question, or the witness may not speculate as to what someone else is, but can respond to why he is here today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Doncourt, what is your reason for being here today?
I believe I have been found as a scapegoat for this predicament. And
Mr. Doncourt, what is the ingredient within your product that is why we are here today?
I believe it's Drufo.
Mr. Doncourt, I would now like to talk to you about your relationship with Carson Durst. Was Carson Durst employed for your company?
Yeah, so Carson Durst used to be in our R&D department.
And what were Carson Durst's specific roles and responsibilities in your company?
So she was responsible for finding dangers related to Drufo back when we were developing it in the early 2000s and bringing those dangers up the ladder to me.
And Mr. Doncourt, were there warning labels on your products specifically indicating non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Not for that specific thing.
And sorry, and why not?
Through our many in-house studies, we have not found the sufficient evidence or need to require these. And as well with that, there aren't any state or federal regulations that require us to put warning labels on if we have not found sufficient evidence to do so.
Mr. Doncourt, do you blame Dakota Weirs for why we're here today?
No, not at all.
Is there anything that you would like to say to Dakota Weirs?
I feel terrible about Dakota's predicament. Thankfully, it was caught early and she should be fine. But again, I feel terrible about it.
And Mr. Doncourt, to your knowledge, was there any sufficient evidence to ever require additional duties of your company?
No.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Right, any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Doncourt.
Good morning.
Oh, sorry, yes. Good morning, Mr. Doncourt. Lush Fertilizer is Lush Fertilizer Incorporated's flagship product.
Yeah, we think it makes the grass incredibly lush as namesake.
Yes. After years of research and development and expenditure of significant capital, you developed Drufo, a patented bonding agent, and added it to your fertilizer?
Yeah, I mean, amazing stuff like that doesn't come around for free.
Your product, Lush Fertilizer, has made Lush the profitable company it is today.
Yes, because it helps the environment tremendously.
And you have a team of employees who you tasked to determine if there were risks to persons using your fertilizer and products.
Of course, that's part of every big company. There has to be an R&D department.
And they determined there was a risk, if minimal, to persons using your products.
Well, I didn't hear of anything about this.
Yet you have safety recommendations on your packaging.
We have recommendations.
Therefore, there are risks, if minimal.
Well, I mean, there's risk in everything.
Yes, thank you. So you do not have safety warnings on your packaging.
No, we have not found sufficient evidence for warnings.
But you do not deny that there are studies that show chemicals in Drufo are carcinogenic.
Well, I'm sure there are studies. I just haven't seen them.
Mm-hmm. So you made the business decision to not include labeling to that effect because your employees determined there was little to no risk.
Well, we have recommendation labels as required. However, we don't have warning labels.
And you admit to not baking your chemicals?
No, we don't do that.
And that baking chemicals would remove all risks of carcinogenic properties?
Well, again, there's risk in everything, so I can't really remove all risk.
Mr. Doncourt, you sat down yourself and created a table of the cost of baking to Lush Fertilizer in order to remove the risk to its users?
The amortization table, I believe, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to present the witness with what has been marked Exhibit 8.
You may.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that I am showing this to opposing and co-counsel. Blake Doncourt, do you stand by these findings in daily business decisions?
Let me look at these for a second.
Of course.
Yes, yes, yes. It looks right.
Mr. Doncourt, you created this to determine the baking costs for Lush Fertilizer?
Yeah, I think I used Excel. I don't really like Google Sheets anymore.
And this is a true and accurate copy of the spreadsheet you created?
Yeah, it looks like it.
It was created in the course of your business as the CEO of Lush Fertilizer?
Of course, I used my business's Office Excel account.
This helped guide your business decisions as the CEO of Lush Fertilizer?
It did.
And this report is maintained within the files of Lush Fertilizer?
Of course it is, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I move for that entry of Exhibit 8 into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Objection relevance.
Your response.
Yes. Your Honor, this exhibit was brought here today because it is what helped Blake Doncourt make the decision of to bake or not to bake his fertilizer. And I've laid sufficient basis for that.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, my witness has already answered the question that they do not bake their products. And so I do not believe that further questioning about that is relevant.
Great, the objection is overruled if the exhibit is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Blake Doncourt, you sat down with your calculator and your preferred Excel spreadsheet and determined how much it would cost your company to prevent the risk for users.
Yes, I
And
did.
according to your figures, you determined that you could increase your profits by 6% in the first year and an additional 2% the year thereafter if Lush did not break their fertilizer.
That is what the table says.
And Mr. Doncourt, to be clear, you decided not to bake your fertilizer.
No, we didn't.
You decided that those profits were more important to you,
Well, we have not found sufficient risk.
but
So,
minimal risk is still risk, yes?
well, again, there's risk in everything. So I could drive out of here and get in a car wreck, or I could go hiking to get more light.
Thank you. You allowed for any risk at all to reach your users?
Again, as I just said, there's risk in everything.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Right, I believe that's 3 witnesses. Are the parties prepared to make closing arguments?
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff is ready.
All right, you may proceed.
Good afternoon. May I please the court, opposing and co-counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Today, a young victim of corporate America has been attacked by Lush Fertilizer. Will you, as the jury, allow this company to continue to market dangerous products, putting people, especially young people's health and lives, at risk? You have the power to keep this destructive chemical out of the hands of today's workers, whose complaints for too long have been dismissed by Lush Fertilizer. You heard from former Lush employee Carson Durst, who is a prime example of Lush Fertilizer's dismissive behavior. After she shared her findings about the dangers of Drufo with her boss, they dismissed her. They did not allow her to speak freely, and it led to Lush knowingly supporting a dangerous work environment. Clearly, this company tried to undermine the data that has shown how dangerous this product is, and used Dr. Devin Williams to do so. He repeatedly ignored the possibility that their Lush products could be dangerous and did not care enough to run any extra tests on the products, all to protect the Lush Corporation. This is a company that lacks transparency and has used their power and money to deceive the public. The Lush Fertilizer that our client Dakota Weirs used on a daily basis, working at a fertilizer and agricultural company, contained Drufo, a toxic pesticide, according to Dr. Casey Rogers, a published and well-respected researcher of pesticides and toxicology, who you heard from today that without proper gear, there will be an increase in a person's chance of developing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And yes, Dakota could have been more careful and read the recommendations on the back of Lush's packaging. But this company failed to exercise reasonable care to prevent the product from creating an unreasonable risk by making the use of safety gear a recommendation and forcing the user to search for what safety gear should be used while handling this product. While you may have heard differently from the owner of Lush, Blake Doncourt, Lush is a large corporation. They know people don't want to buy a product that might make them sick or cause injury. So this creation of unreasonable risk seemed okay as long as they were making money. Doncourt will do anything to save his company and his reputation. So ladies and gentlemen, please, before you believe his story of improvement, remember who he is and what he may have done to hundreds of people, including Dakota Weirs. Dakota, a young woman, first started using Lush products when she was just 14 at a landscaping job. And Lush should have reasonably known that someone of a low education level or a younger mind may have been using this product. Dakota did not know of the consequences of this product because Lush did not take into account their consumer base, allowing for a young, bright soul to face damages due to this company's negligence for the rest of their life. You heard from Dakota Weirs today. You know Dakota Weirs had a beautiful, bright future doing what she loved, playing the piano, just like her late grandfather. And while her twin sister, Skylar Weirs, is a desperate writer, pretending to care about science when she has no qualifications that would speak to this, Dakota loves her family and cares for her family. And now she cannot connect with the largest influence in her life, her grandfather, the man who encouraged her and stood by her side even after his death, through the keys of a piano. All because a corporation did not want to lose profits. So please, do not allow this dangerous product and company to continue to ruin more human lives than it already has. Thank you.
The defense.
Yes, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, now that you have heard all of the evidence, it is clear something is missing. That something is valid, reliable, peer-reviewed scientific evidence that Drufo may cause harm to the user. Depressed about her illness, Dakota Weirs and her father decided to turn to Google to find someone to blame. They have cobbled together a case that is simply missing what is required to meet their burden. I ask you, what was put before you today? Was it proof or postulation? It was postulation. Was it science or speculation? It was speculation. Was it verified or vilification? It was vilification. Cancer in a 20-year-old is a tragedy. No one is debating that. However, Lush is not to blame. Lush is not a villain. Instead, they are a responsible corporate citizen that has created a product that has completely revolutionized the agricultural industry and made it a much more environmentally friendly one. However, along the way, they have become a victim of junk science and a target for competitors. You have heard from the defense's 3 very reliable, very credible witnesses that have explained clearly why Dakota Weirs and her team have failed to meet their burden. You heard from Dr. Devin Williams, a scientist using her extensive research, education, and experience to explain the verified science behind Drufo and exactly why the plaintiff and her team have presented you with junk science. You then heard from Skylar Weirs, an agritech expert. She told you that Lush's product has threatened to upend the guard on agritech. She also told you that the results were inconclusive at best regarding Drufo as a cause for cancers, including non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Skylar Weirs is here today because she knows the difference between proof and junk science. Lush Fertilizer's stellar corporate decision-making and careful, reasoned decisions were discussed by Blake Doncourt today. Lush Fertilizer is a responsible philanthropic corporation that cares deeply about not only the environment, but the people in it. Mr. Doncourt told you that extensive research and testing was done on Drufo, and it did not identify any risks of harm to the users. You also heard from the plaintiff's 2 incredibly biased witnesses. Carson Durst, a low-level employee terminated from Lush Fertilizer. She was not privy to all of the information and is now working at one of Lush Fertilizer's top competitor. She and her company stand to gain significantly if Lush Fertilizer is vilified today. And what did Carson bring before you? She brought you a memo written about a batch of Drufo created when Dakota was 2 years old. That memo was about replicative testing, about taking the next responsible steps of exploring questions raised. Dakota Weirs was justifiably angry at the world. She was desperate to pay her medical bills and faced with the tragedy of non-Hodgkin lymphoma. She was eager to speculate and eager to postulate. However, she herself told you that she did not follow the requirements. Her team promised her false answers. However, listen to what she herself told you. She worked with so many other products and cannot clearly state how often she used those as compared to Lush Fertilizer. She can only tell you that she did not wear the protective gear required. You also heard from Dr. Casey Rogers, a scientist eager to become a toxicology expert. His opinion was based solely upon his own study, a study not replicated and a study not peer-reviewed, a study that fits neatly into Dakota Weirs' victim and villain narrative that she has convinced herself of. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, your job today is to determine whether or not Lush Fertilizer is liable for your job here today is to determine whether or not Lush Fertilizer is liable for damages to Dakota Weirs because they failed to properly warn users. While making this decision, please keep in mind jury instruction number 2 and 3. There are 4 important elements that must each be proved by a preponderance of the evidence. Included is the requirement to prove that Lush Fertilizer knew there was an elevated risk of harm to the users. Without that risk, there is no duty to warn. The plaintiff brought you 2 witnesses, but please keep in mind what was presented to you at the beginning of this trial. Postulation, speculation, vilification. No proof, no science, no verification. Should you find liability on part of Lush Fertilizer, you also must consider the responsibility of Ms. Weirs and decrease her award accordingly. She told you the safety recommendations were intentionally ignored. Dakota Weirs' cancer is a tragedy. However, the plaintiff has not given sufficient evidence to meet their burden of proof and prove a causal connection. Thank you.
Right, so the scoring panelists I think, some time to submit your scores. And we'll go to feedback. Would it work if the scores, once you've submitted your scores and are ready, if you turn your camera on? That way we know that you're ready to provide your feedback.
And Judge, I have received scoring sheets from all of your panelists.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wasn't sure if that's how to do it. All right. Who is our first scorer? Looks like Ms. Carty.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, everyone. You all should be really proud of yourself. Doing a mock trial over Zoom is something that us attorneys that had to cope in 2020 took months to learn, and you guys did it very, very well. And so I just want to give you high commends. We know it's not easy, and you all did a very good job. I will tell you is that the publishing of exhibits is something that I have seen failed numerous times in real court hearings, and not once did you guys fumble with it. And so everyone should be really proud of themselves. One thing I will tell you is that once you start doing real court things, is there's going to be court reporters and things that are going to be recorded. And so it's just really important to slow down and take your time and not talk over each other, just because court reporters will get real mad at you. I actually am a culprit of that myself, as I tend to talk really fast when I get nervous. And so just keep that in mind. The best advice I ever got as a young lawyer is to act like the question and the answer is a ball that you're throwing back and forth. And so the time it takes for the ball to get from you to the person on the stand is the time you should wait before the person on the stand should answer, and same thing back, just timing wise. But I was impressed by all of you guys. You guys did a really good job, and you should be really proud of yourself. You all were prepared, and it was very enjoyable to watch. So good job.
Mr. Atherton?
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Sarah said. You guys did a phenomenal job, especially with the technical aspects of this. There were, I can't even point to a single, hiccup on the technical side. As Sarah said, we've seen people who get paid to, do this online because of the pandemic mess up left and right, and, a ton of hearings. So really good job on that. And this was a really tough case file that you guys all showed a particular mastery over. There was no clear, way through this case. And there were a lot of, hurdles and speed bumps that you guys all dealt with really, really well. I was really impressed. One thing I'll say is, as far as some suggestions to think about going forward, is to be careful about, relying on the relief you get when you're in a tough situation and all you want to do is say, I'll just move on and move on to the next question. You feel a lot of pressure in that moment. It's a high, pressure situation, being in front of a judge and everybody watching, and everything in your being wants to just say, I just want to move on when you face a tough spot. But it's okay to take a deep breath in those moments and know that a jury's watching in those situations. If you just take a deep breath and realize, I asked that question for a reason. I'm confident in the, admissibility of that question and answer, and that it was proper under the rules of evidence. And then state that if you're facing an objection, rather than just wanting to get out of the situation. It really speaks to your confidence, especially when you are in front of a jury making, these decisions on a, high amount or, a criminal level. But you guys did a really, really good job, especially not even being in college or law school yet. Your mastery over the rules of evidence. I was really, really impressed. Good job, guys.
Thank you. Ms. Whitcup?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to echo a lot of the sentiments from the other scoring panels as well. I thought you all did a really excellent job. Just your preparation and the confidence with which you presented your case and did your various roles was really, really impressive. And I feel like I don't see that level all the time from, seasoned attorneys in the courtroom. And so you all should be really proud of the job that you did. And I was particularly impressed with your ability, the attorneys, to respond to objections and just to think on your feet. Those are some of the toughest positions to be in court sometimes, because you can prepare as much as you can, but oftentimes it's thinking on your feet and responding in the moment. And I would just challenge you to take some of that thinking on your feet, listening and responding in the moment, and apply that also in your questioning, both on direct and cross. And what I mean by that is listening to the witness. It's one of the things that I still struggle with as an attorney, to have my set of questions and what I've prepared for, but also leave room for maybe the witness will give me something. Maybe they'll say a little soundbite that I want to pursue a little bit more. Maybe I need to reframe my question a bit to get exactly what I want. So I would just take what you all seem to have a good skill set for in responding to the objections and thinking on your feet, and apply that also to your questioning, just to make sure that you have the most successful director cross. But overall, really good job. And I also just want to give a plug. I was very impressed with a lot of the witnesses in this trial. I thought you all did a just phenomenal job, really, playing your role and being credible and having different personalities come through. I was really impressed by that.
Right. And I just want to thank you all for your professionalism, right? There's an old adage that it's not whether you win or lose, it is how you play the game. And that is really important. And that's something that follows you wherever you go, whether it's your career at school, but your reputation. And you all should be really proud. I'm proud of you all with your level of professionalism, your level of preparedness. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, judges.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, judges.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, judges.
Thank you, judges.